Now broadcasting from his hidden bunker and fully stocked bar, it is the Saturday Report with Colt Sebastian Taylor.
Thank you and welcome once again, my friends, to the Saturday Report with me, Colt Sebastian Taylor, adventurer, entrepreneur, and amateur conspiracy theorist. And welcome to AWSM Radio, an independent digital-only radio station that plays today's best music, old school classics, along with a rotating cast of all-star DJs. AWSM Radio focuses on mainstream artists, independent artists, along with a variety of interesting talk and music shows throughout the day. All we do is entertain, inspire, and inform. And my friends, I want you to be part of the conversation, so find me on the Twitter, on the Instagram, at Colt S. Taylor. Bookmark ColtSebastianTaylor.com, and of course subscribe to the podcast version of the show at anchor.fm/Colt S. Taylor. We were very helpful last week because last week a previous show was played, not the current one. So if there's a slight mix-up, anchor.fm/Colt S. Taylor is the place to go for all of your podcasting Saturday report needs. All right, my friends, let's get started with this week's Saturday Report. First up this week, my friends, a crime and a mystery upon a mystery wrapped in an enigma. So, in Georgia, there was, and I'll tell you why it was in just a moment, something called the Georgia Guidestones. It was called a modern-day American Stonehenge, or Georgia's Stonehenge. It was built in assembled in 1980. It was made of 6 large granite slabs weighing almost 250,000 pounds worth of stone. I say it was there because on July 6th, someone blew it up. Yes, someone placed a bomb and blew up part of these guide stones, and it was so heavily damaged, authorities had to demolish the remaining standing stones a day later. Now, there's many weird things about this. First, who would blow up a monument and whatnot? There's no suspects. They have some grainy footage of a silver car pulling up, someone running out, throwing a bomb in there, going back in and leaving, and then it blows up and part of it falls over. What's interesting, though, is the Georgia Guidestones themselves. Okay, it's in Elbert County, Georgia. It was assembled and built in 1980, opened up in 1980. And no one knows who funded this or who made it. It was a privately funded thing, and there's no one has really known where the money came from, who came up with it, and whatnot. Now, what's weird about this thing is it has 10 inscriptions on it, okay? These are advice that they want to give a future people after, there's some global happenings and an apocalypse, and these stones would help guide people in the future. And they're written in different languages as well. English, Spanish, Swahili, Hindi, Hebrew, Arabic, Russian, and traditional Chinese. They were chosen because it is apparently the most spoken languages at the time, and Hebrew being connections to Judaism and Christianity. But the inscriptions are supposed to be help organize and guide humanity to conserve nature after a nuclear war, which creators thought was about to happen. It was 1980. So here are the 10 guidelines that they're giving a future post-apocalyptic human society. 1. Maintain humanity under 500 million people in perpetual balance with nature. Guide reproduction wisely, improving fitness and diversity. Unite humanity with a living new language. Rule passion, faith, tradition, and all things with tempered reason. Protect people and nations with fair laws and just courts. Let all nations rule internally, resolving external disputes in a world court. Avoid petty laws and useless officials. balance personal rights with social duties, prize truth, beauty, love, seeking harmony with the infinite, and finally, number 10, be not a cancer on earth, leave room for nature, leave room for nature. Now, also, it is signed by R.C. Christian, I believe. R.C. Christian. R.C. Christian. It's obviously a fake name. It's a fake name. But no one really knows who did it. A lot of people think it was a conspiracy theorist. Some people connected it with David Duke, known white supremacist. Robert C. Christian, yeah. So it's also, there's some other things on it. It says the Georgia Guidestones Center Cluster erected March 22nd, 1980. Let these be a guidestones to an age of reason, apparently. And then there are some astronomical features on here. It says, it was written on here, channel through stone indicates a celestial pole, horizontal slot indicates annual travel of sun, sunbeam through capstone marks noontime throughout the year. Arthur R.C. Christian. Sponsors, a small group of Americans who seek the age of reason. Time capsule placed 6 feet below the spot on, and then to be opened on, there's no dates were ever engraved onto there. And then the other side has a bunch of information about the stones and whatnot. But, yeah. Weird that this guy popped up out of nowhere in the 1979, 1980. It apparently gets about 20,000 annual visitors a day. The person who owned the land transferred ownership to the county, so the county owns the land and owns the Guidestones. But it has long been a source of conspiracy theories. Some Christian conservatives said it was a satanic monument. Some people said it was the 10 Commandments of the Antichrist. Right-wing activist Mark Dice, who if you have not come across him on Twitter, don't bother. He's a piece of human trash. But he said the Guidestones should be smashed into 1 million pieces, and then the rubble used for a construction project, saying that the Guidestones have a deep satanic origin. But, anyways, it got blown up. Someone blew it up this week with a bomb, and it has gotten some attention. Some people are pointing their fingers at a local official, well, someone who ran for office, but is a conspiracy theorist and whatnot. But what's her name here? I have it written down here. Oh yes, conspiracy theorist and Candace Taylor said the destruction was an act of God and celebrated the destruction of it, but also said that those people responsible should be brought to justice. But this mysterious monument in Georgia got blown up on July 6th. It destroyed the Swahili Hindi part, but it was so much damage done to the entire structure, everything had to be knocked down with a backhoe because could collapse some people, and it was just very, very dangerous. So, no word on who did this. I can't imagine they're putting it back. It was a lot of granite. I'm sure granite was a whole lot cheaper in 1979. But someone didn't like it, so someone blew it up. I'm just gonna take a stab at this and say it is some sort of fundamental, insane Christian who thinks that this was a satanic something or other for the New World Order. That's just generally the folks who are against it are generally the folks there. So if you were planning to see the Georgia Guidestones this late summer, you're out of luck. It's now just kind of an empty park where they used to be. No word on the time capsule. I don't know what was in it. Probably Commodore 64 games. Moving on to entertainment news. Unfortunately, this week, there was a passing of the great actor James Caan. Passed away this week at the age of 82. He was a, very famous actor. Won 4 Golden Globes, an Emmy, an Oscar, had a motion picture star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in 1978. Some of his most notable roles include Brian's Song, Cinderella Liberty, The Gambler, Rollerball, A Bridge Too Far, Comes a Horseman. He was also in Garden Stones, Misery, Dick Tracy as a small part, Bottle Rocket, The Yards, Dogville, Elf. Also all very good movies. If you've seen some of them, you should. He won a Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor and Golden Globe for Best Supporting Actor for his role in Sonny Corleone in Godfather Part 2 with a cameo appearance at the end. No, it was in the first Godfather. He also appeared in Godfather 2 with a cameo appearance at the end, but he won those for the first Godfather in 1972. But yeah, his classmates were, he went to Hofstra University and was classmates with Francis Ford Coppola. A little bit of a trivia there for you, my friend. Some other movies that he was in that were really good here. Let's see here. I said Dick Tracy. He's a small part of Dick Tracy, but pretty good Dick Tracy. But you know what? He's also in Cloudy with the Chance of Meatballs. That's another good one. He was in a ton of different movies, and he was amazingly good. And he also did the voice of Sonny Corleone in The Godfather: The Game in 2006. So, don't know if that game holds up today. But, so he passed away. Like I said, very, very well-known actor. Some of his later films include The Wrong Boyfriend, Silicon Vampire, JL Ranch. He was the lead in The Good Neighbor, Red Maple Leaf, Undercover Grandpa. You know, some movies aren't the Godfather quality towards the end there and whatnot. But, anyways, passed away this week at the age of 82. I highly recommend the Godfather movie. Go to that one. Elf with Will Ferrell. That's one you should definitely see. And I think there's one more I just can't think of off the top of my head. It's got Hugh Grant in it. I want to say it's Mickey Blue Eyes. That's right, Mickey Blue Eyes, 1999. Very underrated film. I highly suggest that one as well. In other news, in terms of folks passing away, Bradford Freeman passed away this week at the age of 97. He was the last living member of the Easy Company from Band of Brothers. Officially known as Company E, the 506 Parachute Regiment of the 101st Airborne Division, known as Easy Company, which was the subject of a great miniseries called Band of Brothers, which was also based off of a book. The book talks about the company's journey into Normandy, France, during D-Day, and then, like I said, it was adapted into an Emmy award-winning HBO series, which I highly recommend. It really is fantastic. Freeman was a, quote, kind and generous and humorous gentleman. Family friend David Simmons said. Simmons recalled asking Freeman to speak to high school students in his home state of Mississippi after they finished studying the Second World War. He went to 3 schools, spoke, answered lots of questions, and was apparent he had a brilliant memory of each event he experienced. So he lived in Mississippi, and then he passed away according to WCBI-TV of Columbus. Freeman was a mortarman, dropped into the French sores of 1944 with an 18-pound mortar breastplate on his chest. He was in charge of mortars and whatnot. According to a statement, he said, "Me and my buddies did a job for America. Now it's time for new faces to take up the cause," during a ceremony with new 101st members of that particular unit. He recounted his experience in the war in an interview with the Americans Veterans Center in 2018. describing his time in Europe holding a town for the Allies during the Battle of the Bulge and getting injured in the leg along with another man from Pennsylvania. So then he said, I don't know, but it came in hollering and then it just exploded, earning him a Purple Heart. If I was trying to do something, I always would try until I got it right. So he lived a very, very, very long life. He passed away this week at the age of 97, the last Army trooper with Easy Company of the 101st Airborne Division, and whose story, the entire company, was a story of the HBO series Band of Brothers. So they have all passed away now. Moving along, President Biden this week gave out the Presidential Medal of Freedom to 17 honorees this week at the White House. Some names you do know and some names you don't know. In a very nice ceremony, which I caught a piece of. So the folks who were honored include Simone Biles, world-class gymnast, one of the most accomplished gymnasts of all times, also an advocate for mental health and safety of athletes. Sister Simone Campbell, member of the Sister of Social Service, advocate immigration reform and economic justice. Julieta Garcia, former president of the University of Texas at Brownsville. Gabrielle Giffords, former member of Congress who survived a assassination attempt in 2011 and then has dedicated her life to gun violence prevention. Fred Gray, civil rights attorney who represented Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King. The late Steve Jobs, who was the founder of Apple, who passed away in 2011. Father Alexander Karlatos, formerly the Vicar General of the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese of America, and has advised multiple U.S. presidents. Khizr Khan, Gold Star father who criticized Trump during the 2016 Democratic Convention. Sandra Lindsay, New York nurse who served the front lines of the COVID-19 pandemic and I believe was the first person to get the vaccine. John McCain, who passed away in 2018, former senator from Arizona, prisoner of war during the Vietnam War, nominee for president in 2008, good friend of Joe Biden. Diane Nash, organized key civil rights campaigns during segregation. Megan Rapinoe, Olympic gold medalist, world champion, U.S. national soccer team member, advocate for gender pay equality and LGBTQ plus rights, always triggering people on Twitter. Alan Simpson, former U.S. senator from Wyoming. Richard Trumka leads the AFL-CIO Labor Coalition. He died last year. Wilma Vaught, Brigadier General who broke barriers for women in the military, was one of only 7 female generals across the armed forces when she retired in 1985. And finally, Raul Zaguirre, civil rights advocate and ambassador to the Dominican Republic under former President Barack Obama. So those were all 17 awardees of the Congressional Medal, the Presidential Medal of Freedom, which the president can hand out as he sees fits. Joe Biden got one during Obama's term, I believe with distinction. Surprised him during a award ceremony, which is, you know what, if you want to watch it, you should. He was really surprised. It's actually a very nice video. But, so he handed those out this week. Congratulations to all of the award winners. Oh, wait, I forgot one, because he's not in this picture. Denzel Washington. He also got the Presidential Medal of Freedom, but he could not be at the award ceremony today because he contracted COVID-19, so he could not go. I'm sure he'll pop by the White House sometime and get that from the president. So, yes, also, Denzel Washington, amazing actor, also got the Presidential Medal of Freedom today, but was not at the ceremony due to a COVID-19 positive test result. Now, there's one thing I never forget week in and week out, and that's plug in my good friend DC and the show here on AWSM Radio. First up, Fridays at 9 p.m., it's DC Live in Effect, kicking the beach from South Florida. You don't want to miss it while he smashes it on the ones and twos. Then on Saturday, yes, 2 days this week, DC House Party Saturdays, bring his freestyle DJing to the max. House Party Saturdays gives you the Miami vibe without actually having to go down to Florida. You do not want to miss it. And then you know what? Did you want another day? Did you want 3 days of my pal DC? Boom, I'll give it to you. It's DC Live in Effect again, Sundays at 10 p.m. You don't want to miss it. So just mark your calendars. Fridays at 9, DC Live in Effect. Saturdays at 10, DC House Party Saturdays. And then Sundays at 10, DC Live in Effect. Only, my friends, right here on AWSM Radio. We now go to Spain, my friends, because guess what's back? That's right, the running of the bulls in Pamplona, Spain. And guess what? People are already getting hurt. 6 people, including a 30-year-old man from Atlanta, were hurt during today's running of the bulls. No one was gored, but there were 6 injuries. Apparently the American suffered a broken arm, while the 5 other people, 4 men and a 16-year-old girl, all Spanish citizens, were sent to hospitals with a variety of trauma injuries. The revelers race during the Running of the Bulls during a festival on July 7th. It's the first San Fermin festival since 2019, drawing huge crowds to the streets. Obviously, 2020 and 2021 were canceled due to the COVID-19 pandemic, but it is back. It is a centuries-old tradition, but was really made famous by Ernest Hemingway, who wrote the novel The Sun Also Rises. You also might be under the title Fiesta in your local library. And it attracts people from all over the world. It is a controversial, obviously, festival. Long-drawn criticism from animal rights activists, and there were a lot of people protesting that, wearing dinosaur costumes this week, but many of them are still, there's a lot more people there to see it than there are protesters. In 2019, the last time it was ran, there were 39 injuries during the entire festival, with 3 people gored. People do occasionally die during this festival. The Running of the Bulls continue at 8 a.m. local time every day through July 14th. You won't see me there because, 1, I'm not fast. I don't like being poked by anything. So getting gored to the back, not my idea of a fun time. But more than happy to watch it from a 3rd or 4th story window. So, if you are going there, send me a picture. Tweet it to me and I will share it on my Twitter, and I will give you props on my show here. But yeah, I don't see myself going there anytime soon. Certainly wouldn't mind going for the festivities, but I would never run in the street with massive bulls chasing after me. No, thank you. We now go to Mexico, where police raided an animal sanctuary in Mexico for deplorable conditions and hauled away 177 lions, tigers, and jaguars and other big exotic cats that were found at an animal rescue center in the mountains along Mexico City's south side. All in all, 202 animals, including monkeys, dogs, coyotes, and donkeys, were taken to other locations for care. Dozens of heavily armed police raided the Black Jaguar White Tiger Animal Sanctuary Tuesday after images of rail-thin and malnourished lions began to circulate across the social media channels. They're saying it was in very, very bad shape. According to the Association of Zoos president, Ernesto Zazuta, says it all started with a worker who was laid off recently, and he had lots of videos of evidence showing abused animals. We tried to approach the sanctuary at the back, where you can see the animals in very bad conditions. Animals down to their bones with mange, maimed, some with their tails cut off, and others with bugs. So Mexico police seized the property and arrested the person for crime of improper use of property and the mistreatment of animals. The police said, according to the inspection, the property where the animals were kept is zoned for agricultural or grazing purposes, but not for keeping the kind of animals they had there. Now, under Mexican law, private individuals can register to keep exotic cats and other animals in supervised wildlife management units. And the facility raid appeared to have filed the paperwork, but this is really not a proper place for big cats like this. They're kind of just being kept there so people can take pictures of them. The Association of Zoos, Breeders, and Aquariums of Mexico said that members would volunteer to take charge of animals. The Mexican drug cartel members apparently used to keep illegal cats, kept big cats, and the country's 2015 ban on animal acts and circuses have both contributed to the saturation of animal shelters and rescue facilities. So, Mexican drug cartel members used to keep big cats, loved big cats as a sign of wealth and privilege. And then when they shut down the circuses, a lot of these animals kind of end up at these quasi-rescue wildlife ranges that weren't really there to help them. The president of the Zoo Association said the monkeys and 3 lions might end up in Mexico City Zoo. Other zoos around Mexico will be taking many of these animals. Some of them were being treated. Hopefully none of them will have to be put down, but they're all getting veterinarian attention. But they shut down this big, kind of illegal cat sanctuary outside of Mexico City. So the United States isn't the only one with Tiger Kings. Apparently Mexico has their version of that as well. But this one's shut down. The animals will hopefully be getting treatments they need. And the owner is probably under arrest. He sort of said that, this was because donations dropped during the COVID-19 pandemic, so he couldn't afford to keep care of the cats as well as he should. More likely, he's probably going to jail. Moving along to some trivia and whatnot. I talk about current news most of the time, but occasionally trivia that pops up is also very interesting to me. This week marks the anniversary of the first commercially sold machine that could make sliced bread. The best thing to slice bread, you used to have to slice it, cut it yourself, but this gentleman by the name of Otto Frederick Rohwedder made the first bread slicing machine for commercial use. Born in Iowa, of all places, but obviously from ethnic Germans and whatnot. But he created the first machine that makes sliced bread. It was first sold on July 7th, 1928, which, coincidentally, it was also his birthday. He's born in 1880, July 7th, 1880. So he sold the first one to the Chillicothe Baking Company in Chillicothe, Missouri in 1928. He also sold it in 1930. The Continental Baking Company introduced Wonder Bread as a sliced bread. So pretty amazing stuff. So he sold the patent rights to eventually to Micro Westco Company. And joined the company, became the vice president and sales manager of the Rohwedder Baking Machine Division. Made quite a bit of money of making the machine to make sliced bread. Even though it was first sold in 1928, he developed the machine in 1917. But a fire broke out and burned down the factory and all his blueprints and all of his prototypes, so he had to start all over again. But he eventually did it and whatnot. He retired in 1951 at the age of 71 and moved to Michigan. And he lived there until he passed away in 1960. So from 1880 to 1960, he was 80 years old. Inventor of the bread slicing machine. The bread you have today, my friends, it being sliced and now having to do it yourself, That gentleman right there, Mr. Otto Frederick Rohrwader, he's the one who did it. So raise a slice to the great American inventor, Mr. Rohrwader, the inventor of the bread slicing machine for commercial use. The best thing since sliced bread. Now, the second best thing since sliced bread is on AWSM Radio. It's the Rock Sessions. It's our drive time show here, making sure your evening commute home is fun, featuring the hottest music on the charts and some other surprises in between. My friend Rocks will make it rock style, Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m., 5 p.m. to 7 p.m., right here, my friends, only on AWSM Radio. You want to check it out, the Rock Sessions. 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Did I say that? I think I said that. I'm so flustered thinking about how amazing Rocks is. So listen to it. It's a great show. We now go to Saudi Arabia, where the Hajj is taking place. It is an annual pilgrimage to Mecca, one of the holiest sites in Islam. It is the duty of everyone who is physically capable to do so, who follows Islam, to make a pilgrimage at least once in their lifetime to Mecca to perform this part of their religion, the Hajj. They go to Mecca, pray, they go around some very key aspects of this location. I'm not super familiar with the entire process, but it is a very religious experience for those who follow Islam. It's one of the key pillars of Islam, actually, in fact. First started thousands of years ago. People come every year. There are close to 1 million pilgrims from around the world coming to Saudi Arabia for this event, far below the pre-COVID number of over 2.1 million, but they're slowly building that up. During COVID-19, they were limiting to only those in Saudi Arabia could come to Mecca for this important event. But now they are opening it up to more. Saudi Arabia tightly controls who can come to Saudi Arabia on visas for this event. It's like I said, they've had some problems in the past with stampedes, people dying and whatnot, so they were very careful about how many people they bring in every year to make sure that it can be managed. 2.5 million was the usual influx of pilgrims they get during this year. In 2020, only 1,000 residents came to Saudi Arabia. 1,000 residents of Saudi Arabia were allowed to come to Mecca and participate. There were 600,000 residents last year, and this year they opened up, allowing people to come back in to make the pilgrimage and whatnot. But like I said, they limit how many people can come. For example, 100,000 people from Indonesia, the world's largest Muslim population in the world actually is Indonesia. You might not be aware of that. They had 100,000, but only 9,500 came from the United States. Iran sent 39,000. Sometimes they're Iran and Saudi Arabia, not on the best terms. So sometimes they ban people from Iran coming to Saudi Arabia for the Hajj. They're starting to get back up there now. In Mecca, over the last decade or so, there's been a lot of infrastructure building, hotels, accommodations, being able to, handle the influx. Imagine 1 million people, 2 million people coming to this place every single year. So they need the infrastructure to handle that. Buses and trains and accommodations. You could spend $3,000 a night at a 5-star hotel, which some people do, but most people stay in simple tents around the city and whatnot, and do their pilgrimage, the Hajj and whatnot. But so it's not all the way back, but it's coming back. If you had to put off your Hajj pilgrimage for the last few years of the COVID-19, maybe it's start time to applying for that visa, so you can go and do your pilgrimage to Mecca. So hopefully there aren't any issues with that. Like I said, they've had some problems with stampeding and heat exhaustion in the past, but they've built up much around that area to accommodate this large influx of people, and it's a source of pride for Saudi Arabia. Some also very nice tourism dollars there, but they seem to be ramping that back up again. We now go to the United Kingdom, where Victoria Beckham, the wife of David Beckham, former Spice Girl, does not allow her 10-year-old daughter on social media because she doesn't want her to be subject of body shaming, which is rampant on social media. So she does not allow her on there because she's concerned how cruel people can be. She makes sure her daughter Harper is surrounded by nice friends, has a good relationship with her family. According to Vogue Australia, she said Harper is on social media, so we don't have to worry about body shaming just yet. But seeing how cruel people can be, yes, it really does concern me. At that age, her body is going to start changing, but it's about making sure we communicate a lot as a family, and she surrounds herself with nice friends. But it's quite terrifying, I can't lie. In 2021, Girl Guiding did a survey, found that 2 in 5 girls, 40%, between the ages of 11 and 16 in the UK felt insecure or less confident after seeing images online. Elsewhere, Victoria said in the interview that Harper was disapproving of miniskirts that she wore during the Spice Girl time. Victoria Beckham said, she's not one of these kids who are going out there with full makeup and a crop top. She actually said to me recently, Mommy, I've seen pictures of you when you were in the Spice Girls, and your skirts are just unacceptable. They were just too short. Then David piped up and said, absolutely, Harper, they really, really were. And she was actually quite disgusted how short my skirts were. When asked if she was going to wear skirts as short as her mother did, Harper said, absolutely not. So pretty good parenting there, I have to say. As amazing social media is, it really is a terrible place. We as a human society have ruined it. We've ruined social media and the internet for all the world. As much as I enjoy communicating with people online, if no one had ever invented Twitter, would have that been a bad thing? It's hard to say. There's a big argument saying that much power given to people and how terrible people are, not a great thing. My friends, lots of people cry because of sports. They break your heart. Well, my friends, if you want to know where to go for all things basketball, come here Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. for To The Rack with Mac. It's your go-to spot for basketball. So join NBA expert Mac Daddy. Brings you a full hour of high-flying hoops expertise. Fridays at 9 p.m. Then just after that at 10 p.m. on Wednesday, it's What's Going On. It's our Fox Sports affiliate show, providing listeners with over 150 combined years of sports knowledge and expertise, hosted by Nate Brown and his crew. They have been a staple of Western New York sports for the last 2 decades. Now they're going national, and we have them here Wednesdays at 10 p.m. So, Wednesday, 9 p.m., To The Rack with Mac. Wednesdays at 10 p.m. What's Going On right here on AWSM Radio. Well, my friends, that just about wraps up this week's Saturday Report with me, Colt Sebastian Taylor. Thank you for joining me here on AWSM Radio. Thank you so much. I always enjoy connecting with you. Remember, if you want to say hello to me or tell me there's a story I should cover, hit me up on Twitter at Colt S. Taylor. And if you just so happen to miss this week's show, hey, you're busy on the weekends. It could happen. Subscribe to the podcast version of the show at anchor.fm/Colt S. Taylor. In fact, those shows may be a smidge longer. Sometimes I include a little extra bit for the podcast version of the show. And of course, if you haven't already, bookmark ColtSebastianTaylor.com. It's my website. I update, once every 3 to 4 months. You never know. I'm not as busy as I used to be. But I hope you have a delightful weekend, my friends. We are almost in the middle of July. Summer is here. Unless you're my friend in New Zealand, then it's the dead of winter, because that's how the globe works. Until next time, my friends, I'm Colt Sebastian Taylor, and I'll see you later.